This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Giduyuat. It's Monday, January 27th. This is Africa 54. Retired NBA superstar and international basketball ambassador Kobe Bryant and daughter Gianna die in a helicopter crash. We'll have the latest. Zimbabwean families trek to unsafe wells as taps run dry in the drought-ravaged southern African nation. And accounts emerge of U.S. President Donald Trump allegedly telling former National Security Advisor John Bolton that he wanted to withhold aid to Ukraine. We'll have the details. We begin our broadcast tonight as people worldwide are struggling to find words to describe how they feel about the death of retired international basketball legend Kobe Bryant, who perished in a helicopter crash Sunday. He was 41 years old. Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter Gianna were among 9 people killed in the hills of outside Los Angeles. They were on their way to a youth basketball tournament. Bryant was known to use a helicopter from his home to games in Los Angeles to avoid the city's notoriously bad traffic. The LA County Sheriff's Department says an investigation into the crash is ongoing, with federal officials helping U.S. President Donald Trump tweeting, quote, Kobe Bryant, despite being one of the truly great basketball players of all time, was just getting started in life. The loss of his beautiful daughter, Gianna, makes this moment even more devastating. Melania and I send our warmest condolences to his wife, Vanessa, and the wonderful Bryant family. May God be with you all. Former President Barack Obama also tweeted that Bryant was, quote, just getting started in what would have been just as meaningful second act to follow his basketball career. Stars from other sports, including the NFL's Tom Brady and hockey's Wayne Gretzky, also expressed shock. Thousands of people gathered outside the Staples Center in Los Angeles, where Bryant's Lakers played their home games. He spent his entire pro career with the Los Angeles Lakers, winning 5 NBA championships. For more perspective on Kobe Bryant's life and legacy, I'm joined in the VOA studio by reporter Czech Tero. Czech, who is an accomplished basketball player, having played in the NBA Summer League, and as someone who once met Bryant. Czech, thanks for coming into the studio.
Thank you for having me in the studio today.
A very sad day for the sports family, and I believe the entire family. Very shocking. Now, you met with Kobe Bryant. You spoke with him. What do you remember about Kobe?
What I remember about Kobe, when we came on the summer league practice, is helicopter landed on the top of the roof, and everybody was shocked. Everybody was like, "Oh, this is how Kobe pull up," you know. And it was a dream come true for a lot of us in the gym. And they cut the half court for him to practice. And we practiced the whole half court. And after we're done, they asked him, can he say a few words to the athlete, the young athletes? And he asked people their age. He believed on 10,000 hours rules in the gym. And he really believed 10,000 hours. If you want to be like him, you have to have 10,000 hours in the gym in order to be like him. And he said 10,000 hours, that's 10 years of your lifetime. That's 20 hours a week in the gym. And if you think you haven't done much of that in your career, this is not for you. You know, he was a very committed person. He see basketball more than anybody, any person among us thought of this could be something that, you know, he committed to himself as a millionaire. And he had a killing instinct in basketball, so it's something called killing instinct. He had that even though he had everything he wanted in life. You know, so that was my memory for him, and it really teach me how important this is if you want to be like him.
And you were only 16 at the time.
I was about 20 something after 23, 24, yeah.
Well, yeah. What do you remember him telling you personally? He looked at you, you are tall, taller than most of the kids who are aspiring to be basketball players. What do you remember him telling you?
Me personally from Africa, and you see Kobe, if you're from Africa, this is a long dream for somebody that's not even from here. Because America basketball is very competitive. There's over 70,000 players in America alone trying to go. And I was not the only tall person in the team, but he made me feel like it's doable for me, you know, because it's doable. There's a lot of young African in the NBA right now, which Kobe mentor. You know, a lot of them, I was not able to play with him, but a lot of young African right now and the NBA play with him, and he gave them really good advices about how you can carry yourself. You know, Kobe was just a mentor about how players can see life outside of basketball, also in basketball. You know, he was a good father, and he was a good mentor for everybody in the sport, especially basketball right now.
You mentioned him as a professional and as a father. How do you think the world should remember Kobe Bryant?
The world should remember Kobe Bryant as one of the greatest that ever did this game. He gave everything he had, and Kobe was a person who played with broken fingers before, you know, and he retired early because of his body shape, because he used his body a lot. And you should remember Kobe as nobody like him, you know. He's just Kobe. He may even himself say, I don't want to be the next Michael Jordan. I want to be the next Kobe Bryant, you know. And that's what I would think like the world should see about Kobe right now, because he gave everything he had. You know, it was so emotional to see him going the way he went, you know, and the world was really going crazy yesterday after I saw it, and his friends, people posting about him, and his close friends are murmuring his death through a helicopter crash with his daughter and few members of his daughter team, parents, you know. It's very tragic, you know. It's very tragic for this.
Very tragic indeed. It's a sad story. It's a very sad day.
It is very sad.
Sad time for us. Thank you, Czech, for talking to us on this.
Thank you.
All right. Czech, thank you very much for that perspective. VOA's reporter Czech Tiero. A native of Philadelphia in 2017, Bryant penned a poem in which he said farewell to the Lakers called Dear Basketball. It was turned into an animated cartoon that won the 2018 Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. For more information on the life and times of Kobe Bryant, be sure to visit voanews.com. More than 24 people have been injured in Gambia over the last few days as protests calling for President Adama Barrow to honor a pledge to step down after 3 years in office turned violent for the first time. According to the government, Gambian police arrested 137 people during the unruly demonstrations. Barrow came to power after a 2016 election, ending 22 years of authoritarian rule by Yahya Jammeh. However, he has failed to honor his campaign promise to step down by this month, saying the Constitution requires him to serve out a full 5-year term. In response, a movement called 3 Years Jotna, which means enough in the local Wolof language, began protesting last month to demand his departure. Chinese officials are warning that the new strain of virus originating from the Chinese city of Wuhan could be gaining strength and increasing its ability to transfer from one person to another. The coronavirus that is causing respiratory problems similar to pneumonia has sickened close to 3,000 people worldwide and killed at least 56 in China. VOA's Latza Hoke has more.
The Chinese community in Paris cheered a gloomy Saturday with a boisterous New Year's Eve parade to usher in the Year of the Rat, according to the Chinese zodiac. Participants danced in the street of the 8th district in traditional costumes, attracting spectators despite concerns about the spread of the deadly virus from China.
It won't prevent us from going out. We have to carry on living. It's like mad cow disease. People kept going out.
Meanwhile, French political leaders discussed how to prevent the spread of the virus in France and the rest of Europe.
We're going to station a medical team at Charles de Gaulle Airport, as we did when the last flight out of Wuhan arrived, because, as you are aware, it is the main French hub that is connected to China with direct flights.
Health authorities in other countries also are vigilant as the number of infections rise globally. A Chinese expert warns that the ability of the Wuhan coronavirus to transfer from one person to another appears to be getting stronger.
Infected people from Wuhan have spread the virus to other provinces, with some provinces seeing what could possibly be a second-generation virus, which is very dangerous.
There are concerns that the number of infections is higher than reported. Chinese officials say they are doing all they can to contain the outbreak.
This disease is a new kind of disease. Our knowledge of it is limited. We are not clear about the evolution of the disease. The development of epidemic situation isn't in total control.
The Chinese government has quarantined about 50 million people in the Wuhan area. It is also rushing a construction of a special hospital to treat the patients infected with the new strain of virus. The United States had 5 confirmed cases of coronavirus infections by Sunday, and 100 more patients were under investigation. The incubation period can take up to 2 weeks, and it takes some time to determine which virus is responsible for health problems during the flu season when many people get sick. Zlaritsa Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
Zimbabwe is experiencing an acute water shortage in the country's second city, Bulawayo. Authorities say they had to shut down water supplies for 96 hours a week, more than half the time, often in 2-day blocks, to cope with a sharp fall in reservoir levels caused by the country's worst drought in years. Now, families are walking long distances to unsafe wells as taps run dry. Then they must carry the well water home in buckets and containers to use for bathing, flushing toilets, and sometimes cooking. They say they know it's risky drinking untreated water from a borehole used by so many other people, but they are left with no option. Now, for more on this story, I'm joined in the studio by VOA Zimbabwe reporter Chris Gandhi. Chris, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
Wow, what a dire situation this is in Zimbabwe. How are families coping? What is their source of water right now?
Oh, it's terrible because the only source that is the main water taps that they have in their homes, they make sure that every time when the water is available, they have all sorts of containers to contain the water so that they can be using it. Because now sometimes they're going for a whole week without water.
Wow, and this water that comes even through the taps is untreated, or is it treated?
It is treated, of course, but there have been complaints of late that it has some kind of smell and it's muddy. It's not as clear as it used to be.
Now, how are hospitals coping? Because this is one of, the places where you need water.
Yes, it's terrible because that is one of the reasons why the medical personnel has gone on strike, because they're saying they can't work in hospitals that don't have equipment, including water, which is very erratic.
When we had a story, just about a week ago, where even women who are giving birth are going to traditional midwives because there's no water in the hospitals. What are your sources telling you? Where are people going to seek help?
Yes, the water, sometimes in some remote hospitals, the relatives of an expectant mother have to bring water so that the new mother can use that water. And in some cases, there's completely nothing they have to do without for some time.
What is the government's response to this crisis?
The government has always been saying that they are working, they're doing something. And the unfortunate thing is that, most of the urban, especially the urban councils, are run by the opposition. So something that maybe the government is, not doing much so that the opposition who are running the local authorities are blamed for this.
Oh, Chris, we hope there will be a solution to this crisis. Thank you very much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
Chris Gandhi is a reporter with VOA Zimbabwe service. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, the latest in tennis and football news with Sandy Shomari. We'll be back. Don't go, please.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. Farmers are hard at work harvesting coffee beans in the rich volcanic soils of central Madagascar's Itasi province. Bat spit gives the beans a uniquely smooth flavor, sending demand for an already expensive specialty bourbon Pointu coffee soaring to nearly €220. Farmers worldwide are turning to premium and rare beans, some including an animal touch, to shore up their incomes amid a global production glut that has driven down prices. But this may be the first time such coffee is being commercially produced in Africa. Madagascar's animal-enhanced coffee is not unique. Southeast Asia's Kopi Luwak coffee is made from beans salvaged from civet cat feces. Thailand has elephant dung coffee, and there's also a Costa Rican bat coffee. Next up, a new trend for 2020 is physical fitness combined with mental wellness. Nia Technique is a holistic dance fitness class that aims to connect the mind and body, focusing on physical and mental wellness. Nia Technique is a holistic dance fitness class that aims to connect the mind and body. It's part of a body conditioning practice that first emerged in the San Francisco area during the 1980s. Nia combines dance, martial arts, healing arts, and spiritual self-healing. It draws from a wide range of sources including Tai Chi, Taekwondo, Aikido, yoga, jazz dance, modern dance, and Alexander Technique. Classes are taken barefoot to world beat music, a combination of New Age, jazz, Indian, electronica, Latin, and pop. And finally, a real catapult, but a target that only exists in the digital world. This is Tori, a system by Bandai Namco, which combines physical toys with app-based gaming. As technology becomes more sophisticated, manufacturers are finding new ways to use it in their products. And there's a clear demand from their young customers. According to market research company Kids Insights, even in the 3 to 6-year-old category, 10% of girls and 12% of boys in the UK list electronic and digital toys as their favorite things to play with. Technological advancements allow toy developers to be more accurate and mimic real-life actions better in the digital world. And that's what's trending today.
U.S. President Donald Trump's lawyers are resuming their impeachment defense Monday as Democrats issue fresh calls for new witnesses in the Senate trial after accounts emerged of Trump telling his then National Security Advisor, John Bolton, he wanted to withhold security aid to Ukraine until it launched an investigation of a Democratic rival. The New York Times first reported the allegations that appear in Bolton's upcoming book on Sunday, and they were later confirmed by other news organizations who spoke to people familiar with the text. A Bolton attorney says the text had been sent to the National Security Council a month ago to undergo standard reviews for their classified information ahead of its release. On Twitter Monday, the president rejected Bolton's reported version of events, saying, quote, "I never told John Bolton that the aid to Ukraine was tied to investigations into Democrats, including the Bidens." Trump is currently on trial in the Senate on articles of impeachment, charging he withheld $391 million in Ukraine aid while pushing Ukrainian leaders to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden and a debunked theory that it was Ukraine, not Russia, which interfered in the 2016 U.S. election. A second charge is that Trump obstructed Congress by seeking to thwart investigations of his actions. The House of Representatives, members serving as prosecutors in the impeachment trial, issued a statement renewing their calls for Bolton to be called as a witness. Trial experts expect legislators in the Republican-majority Senate to vote on whether or not to allow witnesses and documents so far kept secret by the White House. As VOA Arashara Basadi reports, senators from the two major parties seem on opposite ends of the issue.
This week in Washington, senators will vote on whether or not to allow witnesses and documents in the impeachment trial of President Trump.
The chaplain will lead us in prayer.
The White House defense team on Saturday opened its case.
Disagreeing with the president's decision on foreign policy matters or whose advice he's going to take is in no way an impeachable offense.
The Senate has never removed an impeached president from office.
They're asking you to do something that no Senate has ever done. And they're asking you to do it with no evidence.
Democrats say the president's instruction to defy subpoenas and document requests obstructs the investigation into alleged abuse of power involving a phone call where Mr. Trump appears to ask Ukraine's president to investigate a political rival in exchange for military assistance.
The question for you is whether it's okay for the president to withhold taxpayer money, aid for our ally, our friend at war, for a personal political benefit. Whether it's okay for the president to sacrifice our national security for his own election.
Democrats ask the Republican-controlled Senate to subpoena witnesses with firsthand knowledge of the now infamous phone call. But some Republicans say that is not their job.
It looks like they're asking the Senate to go be special counsel, go search, go seek out. That's not really the task of the Senate. The task of the Senate is to hear the trial. The House is the one that's actually gathering the information for impeachment, so we're acting on what they're sending us.
Democrats say the Trump administration made it impossible to gather all the information.
All we are asking for right now is 4 witnesses. 0 witnesses plus 0 evidence equals 0 justice. You can't have a trial without the witnesses. They cannot go down in history as the people that blocked the truth from coming forward, because eventually it will come forward.
The president, who for months called impeachment a hoax, now says he favors witnesses, just not former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
He knows some of my thoughts. He knows what I think about leaders. What happens if he reveals what I think about a certain leader and it's not very positive, and then I have to deal on behalf of the country? It's going to be very hard. It's going to make the job very hard.
Following the arguments from the president's defense team, an opportunity exists for senators to ask written questions of the prosecution and defense teams, which will be read aloud by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News, Washington.
It's time for Monday's Sports Report, and joining us now is Sandy Shomari. Hello, Sandy. It's a very sad day today for the sports fraternity, the entire world, with the death of NBA legend Kobe Bryant.
Yes, Esther, it's a tough Monday for sure. As you mentioned, the whole world is mourning Kobe Bryant, also known as the Black Mamba, for his lethal on-court exploits. He will be remembered for his greatness both on and off the court. Meanwhile, in Australian Open women competition, Russian Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova continued her success, reaching the quarterfinals after fighting back past the former champion Angelique Kerber from Germany with a 6-7, 7-6, 6-2 win on Monday. It will be the third quarterfinal appearance in 4 years for the 28-year-old Russian, and her win ensured Melbourne Burton's 6-3, 6-3 earlier on Monday. And in the men's competitions, Spain's Rafael Nadal cruised past Australian hopeful Nick Kyrgios in 4 sets. And Spanish soccer giant Real Madrid established a 3-point cushion at the top of La Liga after they defeated Real Valladolid 1-0 on Sunday. Nacho Fernandez rose highest to head the traveling team in front after 78 minutes, with Valladolid having succeeded in keeping their guests at bay until deep in the later stages. Real moved back to the standing summit after Quique Setien's Barcelona suffered a surprise 2-0 defeat away to Valencia on Saturday. This is the first time since October Los Blancos have led an outright lead in La Liga, an advantage coach Zinedine Zidane won't want to give up again between now and the end of the campaign. Zinedine Zidane, several changes made the team that beat Sevilla 2-1 in Real's last league outing, with Rafael Varane the only member of the defense to survive the transition. And that wraps our sports for today. And back to you, Esther.
Sunday, you and I texted each other after the Kobe Bryant news broke. Your thoughts about Kobe?
I'm telling you, Esther, this is one of the greatest shockers of 2020, if I can say. And the whole world was in shock after that, to know that the legend who has done so much for basketball, not just playing at a young age, but also giving the great to the American team, if you remember NBA, twice gold medals. This guy was relentless, working hard, and his mentality and mantra, never to give up, never to lose. We'll always remember his greatness.
What a great guy. R.I.P. Kobe. Thank you, Sandy. Join Sandy Shomari again next Monday for the latest sports on Africa 54. I can't get it.